The world is in total disorder because of a quickly spreading virus which can spread through touch and air, making many people sick in a short time. To keep safe, a couple named Paul and Sarah, their son Travis, and Sarah's dad, Bud, moved to their remote house deep in the woods, away from the city and other people. They live carefully, always wearing masks and gloves when they go outside to avoid getting sick. One day, however, Bud begins to show signs of the infection. He becomes weak, starts vomiting blood, and develops painful sores all over his body. To stop the virus from spreading, Paul decides to end Bud's life and burn his body. Sarah, unable to watch her father die, locks herself in a room, struggling with the heartbreaking truth. That night, their dog, Stanley, starts barking loudly near the front door, alerting them to the intruder. The family quickly prepared themselves, putting on masks and gloves to face the danger. When the intruder finally breaks in, Paul immediately tells him to lie down and drop his weapon. He asks if the man is infected, and the stranger says he is not. Paul then asks if anyone else is with him, but the man insists he is alone. Still, Paul isn't taking any risks and knocks him out. He tells Sarah and Travis to watch the man while he checks for others outside. After looking around for a bit, Paul confirms that the man really came by himself. However, worried that he might still be carrying the virus without showing symptoms, Paul ties him to a tree far from their house and tapes his mouth to prevent him from calling for help. They decide to leave him there for a full day. If he shows any signs of sickness, Paul will have to kill him. Once everything seems safe, the family focuses on fixing the broken door and sealing any openings to keep intruders out. The next morning, Paul goes out, fully protected, to check on the man tied to the tree. After a careful look, he finds the man is not sick. Paul then interrogates him, warning that lying will cost him his life, but telling him the truth will earn him some water. After taking the tape off his mouth, the man introduces himself as Will. He thought the house was empty because there were no signs of life. He broke in to find food and water for his family. He has a wife and child waiting for him. After the outbreak hit, they left the crowded areas to find safety in the forest, about 80 kilometers away from Paul's place. Will had to leave them because they ran out of water. He assures Paul that he would never have entered if he had known the house was occupied. Will then offers Paul a deal. He has 2 goats and 6 chickens and is willing to trade some for water. After hearing Will's reasonable story and seeing he seems honest, Paul gives him water, knowing he must be very thirsty after being tied up all day. However, before making a final decision about Will, Paul talks to Sarah about what he learned, including Will's family situation. Hearing that Will and his family are not infected, Sarah suggests they bring them to their home. More people could help them protect the house and find food, water, and firewood together. After agreeing on this plan, Paul prepared to go with Will to get his family. A few hours later, Paul and Will returned home safely, along with Will's wife Kim and their young son Andrew. Will also had 2 goats and 6 live chickens, which would be the food sources for their group. After welcoming the newcomers and helping them get settled, Paul called everyone together in the dining room to explain some important rules they needed to follow for safety and health. Paul stated that there would be only one door to use for entering and exiting the house. At night, this door would be locked, and no one could go outside after dark unless it was an emergency. During the daytime, they split into 2 teams to gather food, clean water, and firewood. All weapons would be kept in a special chest that only Paul could open, and anyone who needed to use a weapon would first ask for his permission. They also established a daily routine of sharing meals twice a day to help save food. Each person would have their own utensils, and sharing was not allowed to reduce the risk of spreading the virus. After taking a bath, everyone had to quickly empty their water buckets to avoid leaving any water behind that could be contaminated. As days went by, their life in the forest started to become more organized. Each family member took on their tasks responsibly. Some would go out in the morning to get clean water, while others searched the forest for extra food or gathered firewood for cooking and warmth. In their free time, they played games, talked, and laughed, gradually creating a sense of normalcy amid the chaos. One day, while they were collecting firewood, their dog, Stanley, suddenly began barking loudly in the direction of the woods. Paul tried to calm him, but the leash broke and Stanley ran into the woods. Travis rushed after him, not thinking about the dangers in the woods. He chased Stanley for a while until the barking suddenly stopped. Paul and Will caught up to Travis, and seeing how far Travis had gone, Paul scolded him for taking such a risk and ordered him to return home while he and Will looked for the dog. After searching thoroughly, Paul and Will could not find any sign of Stanley, leaving Travis heartbroken. Noticing his son's sadness, Paul went to him and apologized for not finding their pet, assuring him that they would keep looking in the morning. That night, after everyone went to sleep, Travis woke up to a noise. As he followed the sound, he realized it was coming from Andrew, who had somehow ended up sleeping on the living room floor. Travis gently woke him and took him back to his room. On the way back, Travis curiously checked the front door and was shocked to find it wide open. Not wanting to risk anything, he quickly woke everyone up. Afraid of an intruder, they all grabbed their weapons, masks, and gloves, preparing for trouble. When they all checked the front entrance, they were stunned to find Stanley lying on the ground, barely alive. To spare Travis more heartbreak, Paul told him to go back to his room while he and Will took care of the dog. Concerned that Stanley might be sick, Paul and Will decided to burn the dog to prevent any possible spread of illness. Afterward, everyone gathered at the dining table to discuss what had happened. Paul calmly asked Travis about the front door, wanting to know if he had opened it. Travis explained that the door was already open when he found it, and that he didn't know who opened it. He mentioned that he had seen Andrew asleep in the living room and thought that Andrew might have opened the door while sleepwalking. Kim didn't believe this, but when they asked Andrew directly, he said he didn't remember anything. Paul realized the situation was serious and decided they needed to separate the two families for a day or two to lower the risk of any infection. Each family would stay in different rooms and avoid contact with one another. While in his room, Travis was concerned that could be sick. He remembers that he touched Andrew earlier without gloves while helping him back to his room. Paul tried to reassure him and suggested he take a shower to clean himself to lower any risk of getting sick. Later that night, Travis quietly leaves his room and goes to the attic where he overhears Will's family talking downstairs. He hears a loud argument between Will and Kim. Though he can't catch every word, he hears them planning to leave the house. Realizing something is wrong, Travis quickly wakes his parents to tell them what he overheard. Hearing this, Paul and Sarah arm themselves with weapons, masks, and gloves, thinking they must act fast if Andrew is indeed sick. They tell Travis to stay in his room for safety while they go to Will's room. When Paul knocks on the door, Will refuses to open it and insists that Andrew only had a nightmare. Paul tries to explain that he just wants to check on them, but Will still doesn't let him in, making the situation tense. Paul warns that if they don't open the door right away, he will break it down. When the door finally opens, Will quickly points a gun at Paul. He forces Paul into the room and tells him to take off his mask and gloves. Will explains that he doesn't want trouble and just wants to leave with his family. He also asks for some food and water, and nothing more. He warns Paul not to try anything foolish, or he will be in danger. Paul, suspecting Andrew is already sick, urges Will to consider doing something to protect everyone. Will tells Kim to take Andrew out of the house while he keeps his gun aimed at Paul, making him gather food and water supplies. As they walk downstairs, Sarah suddenly appears holding her own weapon. She tells Will to lower his gun to prevent things from getting worse. To ease the situation, Will suggests they both lower their weapons on the count of 3. Sarah agrees, but when Will's guard goes down, Paul quickly grabs the gun from Will's hand, leaving him defenseless. Will tells Kim to take Andrew and escape, but before she can do anything, Sarah blocks her way and orders her to kneel and stay put. She checks them both and realizes that both Kim and Andrew are infected. Will also shows clear signs of the infection. Not wanting to take any more risks, Paul overpowers Will to carry him outside. However, once they are outside, Will regains some strength and attacks Paul, almost killing him. In that critical moment, Sarah shoots Will and saves Paul's life. As Will lies dead on the ground, Kim grabs Andrew and tries to run into the woods. But before she gets far, Paul shoots at Andrew. Without any compassion, Paul finishes things with one last shot, killing Kim too.
Kill me!
It's not long before Paul and Sarah realize that Travis has been infected too, likely from touching Andrew earlier. Lying helpless in bed, Travis is comforted by his parents, who abandon all safety measures to stay with him in his final moments. Overwhelmed with grief, they watch as Travis slowly fades away. The final scene shows Paul and Sarah sitting silently at the dining table, both infected, and staring blankly at each other as they come to terms with their fate.